Welcome to the Knowledge for Men show. Your life will never be the same.
Your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development.
I want to die empty of regret. I want to die empty of my best work. We don't understand who we are. Instead, we're living out somebody else's narrative.
What one man can do, another man can do. If it's been done, it can be done again.
Being yourself and being your truest, most authentic self in every moment. If it scares you or makes you a little afraid, do it. Follow your heart and your gut.
The first stage, I think, is finding you, like finding out who I am today.
Stuff will not work. You will have things that fail. Success is when you're a happy, fulfilled person. How do you define success?
It's your life, and you are the creator of the movie script that is your life story.
Hey, my team and I are offering a 3-day intensive retreat in San Diego, California. This retreat is going to be so powerful and transformative. My team and I will show you how to discover yourself, your true potential, and help you find your path and purpose in life and uncover the warrior's courage that is within you. I literally put my heart and soul into this program, and the reason why you want this is because I will save you time and money from having to figure out all of this on your own. There are only 10 spots available for the retreat, so go to kfmretreat.com to learn more and apply for the program. Again, that's kfmretreat.com.
All right, guys, welcome to the show. I'm here with David Eschenlohr. He's the author of the book Rite of Passage, Memoirs of a Survivor of the Pickup Community. All right, David, happy to have you here on the show.
Glad to be here.
All right, David, we start off every show with a favorite success quote or some sort of saying, something that you've lived by. I always like to start off the show with something like that. So what do you got for us, and explain why, what it means to you?
I think I got something really different because I have a quote that goes something like this. If you don't know what you want to do, you just keep doing. And I don't know where I got that from. I think I picked it up somewhere, so I can't give you the exact source. But it's something that's really helpful for me because I'm one of those people who always gets obsessive about what the best plan is or what the best path is. So I started to train myself to just do instead of think about what I'm doing. And that seemed to be really helpful for me personally.
Okay. So if you don't know what you're doing, you just keep going.
Exactly. Instead of procrastinating and thinking about what the best possible step was.
Okay. I see that. So instead of like, just, I'm going to try and read, or I'm going to like look through, I'm going to stop what I'm doing and try and find my passion or purpose online. Like you just like keep trying and doing things. And in that process, you start discovering more.
Exactly. For example, you wanted to start a business, right?
Okay.
And it's somehow related to blogging. So instead of thinking about 2 weeks what you're going to call your blog, you just set it up and start writing. That would be one thing to do.
Yeah, no, I like that. I think I'm huge on just doing stuff, like, taking action and just putting yourself forward, even though you have no idea what the next step is. Dangerous at times, but nonetheless, things get done.
Exactly. Isn't that what they write on Google's walls?
Is it? I think so. I've heard something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, David, so you got this book here, and it's interesting to me. Rite of Passage, Memoirs of a Survivor of the Pickup Community. Sounds like something bad happened to you. There's probably some tragedy that happened. You survived. So yeah, let's dive into that. There's a lot of guys on this show that listen to, that are, wanting to improve their dating lives, wanting to meet more women, wanting to expand in that arena. I've also delved into this deeply. There's been some good habits that have come out of that, and in terms of self-growth and personal development. But I'd like to hear your story. I'd like to hear your take on how you got started with what you do, what happened to you, what were some of these lessons that you pulled out of that experience. So go ahead, take the mic, David.
Well, in order to explain why I called the book Rite of Passage, or being a survivor of the whole pickup community, it might make sense to start from the beginning, right?
Yeah.
So I basically had the same story every single shy guy went through, which was at age 15 or so, I discovered that I didn't want to spend the rest of my life playing video games, which I did at the time, about 12 hours every day. I was really good. I was about, I think, ranked number 11 from 13,000 people. So I was really good in the game.
Whoa. What game are we talking about here?
It's a German thing. It's called Free War, and basically it's like a simpler version of World of Warcraft. You know, like you gather gold.
Enough. The second I heard gold, let's move on.
Yeah. So I really was into that game, and I realized, well, I was really good in the game, but I wasn't good at my life. And at one point I had this realization at the gym where I sat in the sauna and I just couldn't stop thinking about how I would get more stuff done in the game, that this is not really what I should be doing as a 15-year-old guy, right? So that's how I got into the next game, which was then the pickup community. And I really have the same story every guy has in that respect, really. I spent years, like 5 years or something, developing my skill, quote unquote, with women and going out every single day, approaching strangers on the street and so forth. You know the drill, right?
Yeah. Pause real quick. I really like what you said earlier. You said, I was good in the game, but I wasn't good in real life.
Yeah.
And I think you could exchange the word game for a lot of things here. You could be good at, let's say, I'm good at, you could insert some sort of hobby. You could put golf, you could put jujitsu, you could put karate, you could put like your whatever hobby there, or your career. Like, I'm good at my job, but not good in real life.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think a lot of guys could resonate with that. Yeah, continue on.
So I got into it really deep, and I always felt that there was something weird about it. You know, like when you get into the whole community thing, there's always those weird guys, like about 50, who try to teach you their tactics and so forth. I basically just wanted to be confident and just wanted to be comfortable with being myself and possibly like be able to meet girls. But then I remember this one guy, he was wearing a fishing hat when he came to the community meeting, and he was about 3 times my age. And he wanted to explain to me, well, this is the angle from which you have to walk up to a girl in order to make her attracted. But the truth was, he didn't do any successful thing in terms of meeting women himself. So I always had this feeling that something was wrong with that. But that didn't stop me to go deeper and deeper and deeper. It went so far that I even took courses with Real Social Dynamics, which is a great company, right? So I paid coaches and read all the books and so forth. And then at some point, something just changed. And I remember it really clearly. It was after 7 years of being involved in that and going through up and downs and horrible situations with girls and great situations with girls. And at some point I just realized, why am I bothering doing all this stuff? Is this really what I wanted to do in the first place? Didn't I just want to be a normal guy? Didn't I just want to be cool and have a girlfriend maybe? And that's really when it clicked. And that's when I said, well, this part of my life is over now. So now what I've taken is a quite critical approach to the whole dogma the community oftentimes injects into the students. And I'm not saying that every coach is bad and all the teachings are bad, but I see many, many guys out there who follow advice religiously. And that's one of the reasons I really like Knowledge for Men, because if you get many different ideas and coaches together, you can't fall into that trap, right? You get your information from different sources and you won't be looking up to one guru and outsourcing your responsibility to think for yourself, so to speak. So really now I'm trying to install that idea in guys' heads that they don't have to follow anybody's book or YouTube videos for that matter, or even podcasts, right, religiously. All they have to do is take the information that's out there, if it's helpful, and use it to move closer towards their true, authentic self. That's my message or mission at the moment.
Okay. What I'm getting from this is this idea of self-reliance and being able to draw your own conclusion, your own actions from within, versus just someone said this, I'm going to go do that because he said it works, therefore I'm going to put all my confidence in that person and just say that, and I have no idea what I'm doing, but it just seems to make sense because he told me to do it.
Exactly. And one of the things that we all have in common, all of us who try to get better with women, is that we suck in the beginning. We've been hurt in the past, and that's probably the biggest thing that drives us to start that journey. We've been hurt, we felt not comfortable with ourselves, and instead of facing that actual issue, which is like an issue of intimacy or an issue of intimacy with yourself, if you want to call it that, we choose to go with these external goals, like get lots of women, like sort of have a list of how many women you've slept with or how many approaches you've done. But what you forget really is what you wanted to have in the beginning, which is to feel complete, to feel enough, as opposed to chasing just another external value. Because what got you into the trouble in the first place was probably because you were comparing yourself with others and because you were feeling that you were inadequate. And then you continue doing so by just measuring yourself against others again, just on a different level. It's not longer, well, this other person looks better than me or my friends are cooler than me. Now it's, well, I've been sleeping with more women than they have. And that's really something that I consider almost like a sickness. And I don't mean to say that everyone who does pickup is necessarily doing something wrong. But if you're coming from that place, it's really not healthy for yourself.
What have you seen in your experience of people who live in this way for an extended period of time?
One of my best examples is a guy who I started out with, and I have massive respect for him. He has a walking impediment, so he's actually disabled in a way, right? And he made it really far, so to speak. Like, he can now go up to women with confidence and meet them, and he has many girlfriends at the time. And that's really great if you think about it, right? That's one of the great aspects about the community, because he wouldn't have made it that far if it wasn't for all the material out there. But at the same time, he was always a really sensitive guy. He used to cry a lot, and he used to be a person with a really open heart. So I've seen him on multiple occasions do things that were utterly out of alignment with his core tendency. For example, he lost his virginity to prostitute in a threesome while he was on cocaine. While the only thing he wanted to do in the beginning was to feel loved and accepted by one girl. So that's pretty crazy if you think about it. Another time I remember him telling me, well, I really had this connection with a girl. Like we met these couple of girls, me and my pickup friends, and we took them to our place. And I really had that connection with that one girl. But then my wingman took her into the bathroom and took her virginity. And he seemed to be fine with it. But something must have died inside of him at that moment. And that's really what I mean. That's one of these examples I like to use for what can go wrong. Because he basically goes out of alignment with who he truly is, with his authentic self, and adapts those new values of, well, I'm a player now. I'm going to get lots of girls, and I don't care about feelings, or I don't care about living true to myself any longer.
Yeah. This whole thing that you're sharing with me here, it's pretty deep. So, someone who is coming from a place of a lot of pain to then going into this community, learning some things, and fully adopting this new mindset and erasing his previous mindset.
Yeah.
This brings up a quote. I'm going to paraphrase it, but it's by Ralph Waldo Emerson. And he says, "It is easy in the world to live after the world's opinion. It is easy in solitude to live after our own. But the great man is he who in the midst of the crowd keeps his perfect sweetness, the independence of solitude." And
that's a beautiful quote.
Yeah, it's very beautiful. And he's talking about self-reliance and being able to listen to others and respect others' opinions, but still at the same time come up with your own solutions, come up with your own ideas and answers, while just, you can listen to others, but they don't have to be yours completely. And I think that's, you can apply this into like every aspect of life. It's, pickup is, dating, relationships, pickup, all this is one area. You could apply this in business if you're following one guy who's telling you this is how you have to like structure your business, and you just listen to him, or one guy who's telling you how to be happy, you're reading this book. I think it's all good to expose yourself to this information, but at the same time, to be able to come up with your own ideas of what makes you happy.
Exactly, yeah. I totally agree. The reason I called the book Rite of Passage, or that's the main title, was, you know what that means, right? In Africa, for example, they would send out young guys into the desert to kill a lion, for example, right? And for me, really, pickup became this rite of passage. So I think it might serve many guys well as that, and only that, as a way to grow from immature boy thinking, if you want to call it that, and then into a man, or finally finding your core authentic self. It could serve as that. And sometimes I even wonder, and that's a really tricky one here, sometimes I even wonder if I want to tell guys to stop doing pickup, because in the end that would leave this rite of passage incomplete. So sometimes I think, well, maybe I should just shut up and let them do their thing, so that they come to their own conclusion, that they complete the rite of passage and realize for themselves, well, it's not about how many girls I've slept with. It's not about how many approaches I do. In the end, it comes down to how I feel as a person. So in that sense, I would even say, well, maybe in order to become self-reliant, as Emerson calls it, let just everyone do their own thing and not even try to change their path.
Yeah, that's really good. I think if you were to stop someone, then if you were to tell someone this, it wouldn't be the same as if someone was to experience this. Especially when you're talking about something as deep as a rite of passage, which is you can't read about a rite of passage and then you're transformed. You have to go through the journey. You have to go through the ups and downs, and you have to experience it. And it's in that process where you discover for yourself what it is that you need to learn.
Exactly.
Share with us now kind of this evolution that you've taken for yourself and the path that you're on now.
Well, I've basically moved from someone who was constantly searching, someone who was feeling incomplete on a daily basis, like setting up my morning routine because only then I would feel that I was somehow moving towards being a whole person, to someone who really truly enjoys every single day and feels full every single day, lives with an open heart, if you want to call it that, lives fully. And I can even see that in my own breath, to say that it's like you feel more open and you feel more complete as soon as you realize that there's really not much you have to do in order to get that feeling, in order to arrive at that conclusion. And it's a bit of a paradox, because in a way we have to do things, right, in order to feel good about ourselves. But I would say, why not do both? And that's really what I'm doing right now. I'm feeling complete, but I think in that completion is also movement. If you think about life, for example, like just nature, it's all complete, it's not something that is fundamentally flawed, but it's still moving. Plants are growing, trees are growing, rivers are flowing. They just are, but they develop still. And the main conclusion really I took throughout my evolution and apply it to my daily life now is, well, why not do both at the same time? Why not wake up and think, well, this is really all there is. Today's life is all the life I'll ever have, but I want to spend it doing something cool. I want to spend it doing something really useful, like for myself, obviously, self-reliance again. But really combining the two into one, that is sort of how I live my life now. And my mission at the time becomes then to communicate that to other people, because I think that you can get two problems as a guy. One problem is when your life sucks, right? And you think, well, I'm not really satisfied. I don't have the women I want. I don't have the business I want, and so forth. That's one thing. And then the other thing is that you're totally satisfied, but not really. You're totally feeling that this is it, but just because you're too afraid to face the unknown. So either you're totally aware of it or you're totally unaware of it. And what I really want for people or guys to understand is that you could basically take the middle path and feel totally full and complete, rested in movements towards your goals. So that's sort of my core mission. That's why I make videos on YouTube. That's what I write about. That's what I'm all about at the moment.
So what I'm getting from you is to kind of love the life you have while you're going after the life you want.
Exactly.
And so then when you live in this way, I resonate with this. When you live in this way, it's not like, okay, I want to become a millionaire. So what am I going to have to do? It's going to take 5 years maybe. Now, it's not when you live in this way, you don't have to sacrifice 5 years of your life, meaning not enjoy those 5 years in order to get and attain that desired goal of $1 million. Living this way, you could actually enjoy the entire journey that it will take, the ups and downs of getting that $1 million, and then you also get the prize.
Yeah, and if you would not enjoy that journey by itself, then maybe you shouldn't do it in the first place. That's really some sort of basic flaw in thinking many of us have. We have this goal in the future, and everything until that goal becomes discomfort and hard work without any pleasure. So I think really we should be able to, if we have our goal and if it's the right goal, if it's intrinsically motivated, then the process should be just as fulfilling as reaching it.
How can you shift from viewing the journey or the process of being kind of drudgery, hard work, unenjoyable, to becoming something that you enjoy?
Well, that has lots to do with how your goals are in alignment with who you truly are. As I said before, I don't believe that you can have joy going for a goal which is really externally motivated. So before you start, really, you need to make sure that, or while you're moving, to put it that way, you need to figure out that you're moving into a direction that is closely tied to your personal values and not something somebody else tells you. For example, you could become an online business owner because, well, that's really what cool guys do, right? Or you could become an online business owner because there's this really cool message you'd like to spread, or because there's this really cool product which you'd like to sell. So in order to feel that fulfillment while you're on the path, you'd try to align yourself with what is your path and not somebody else's path. It's really easy to get caught up in other people's values and other people's ways of living, I find.
Yeah, it is. I think this stems from not having your own purpose and instead just living through someone else's purpose. It seems like you talked about, like, you're like, this wrote this book, I'm traveling, I have this YouTube channel, I help a lot, I write about this stuff. Just by listening to the tone of your voice, you're very on purpose. How would you help or suggest someone discover their own purpose?
The first thing I'd suggest would be to erase the word purpose from their vocabulary. Why?
All right.
Okay, listen up.
I'm listening. Yeah, this is good.
Why? Because purpose implies a distinct moment in the future, which you will move towards or achieve at some point. It's like you have to find your purpose and then it's good, then you can move. Instead, I would suggest the term direction. Direction is a word that implies movement, and you can even have direction while you don't actually have a purpose. And that's closely tying into what I said before. Well, you can just move, or my favorite quote, you can just move even when you don't know exactly where you're going. So you could wake up every single day with direction, right? Even if you don't know your purpose. And that's really what I'm practicing myself, to be honest. I don't really know my purpose, but it seems like it maybe, because when I wake up, I have direction, because I listen to myself, and my inner voice, if you want to call it that, tells me, well, it's time for you to make a video, David. It's time for you to write a little bit. That's really a fundamentally different way of living your life. And it's something I discovered over time for myself, and it seems to work really well for myself. And I guess that other people would be served really well to take that into account.
So what really drives you? What is getting you out of bed in the morning? Like, what really drives you in life?
It's my direction again. I wish I could tell you exactly what my mission is, but it's more of something that just makes me get up. I actually get up at 5 in the morning, not because my alarm rings, but because when I wake up a little bit, I get up, I get excited, I jump out of bed, think, well, I have like a coaching today, or I get some more writing done. And it's a really beautiful way of starting your day to wake up like that. Like for real, like I haven't read any book that tells me, well, wake up with excitement, step number 1. No, it actually happens. And my purpose or my mission really is to follow that direction. And where it will take me, I have no idea. And something I discovered, and I guess you're a very avid reader as well, right? So many of those really big people in history, they didn't know exactly what they wanted to create. They just went with the flow, if you want to call it that. I think actually one of, I don't know if it was Picasso or Da Vinci, one of them said that it was like their inner voice that made them do whatever they did. And I don't want to compare myself with any of these people, of course, but I feel it's somehow similar.
Yeah, I like to say just follow your curiosity.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'd say. Yeah.
And in that process, you're going after things that you're genuinely curious about, things that you're interested in, and awesome things can happen when you listen to your heart versus listening to the opinions of other people, society, friends, family, and those such things.
Well said.
All right, David, let's dive into something I call the knowledge round. So I'm just going to ask you some rapid fire questions here. So David, you ready for the knowledge round?
Yes.
All right.
We were all born completely unique. Your DNA has never occurred in the past and will never occur again in the future. This fact makes you unique, and there's a purpose behind this. There's a reason behind all of this. You have some great purpose that you need to fulfill for being here. And it's a shame if that purpose never comes alive and it goes into the graveyard, the richest land in the world. Don't let that be you. Create the life of your dreams, break through, and reach your full potential. Check out how my retreats can transform your life and light a fire inside of you to go after your dreams and become the best man that you can be. Go to kfmretreat.com to learn more and apply. Again, that's kfmretreat.com. Welcome to the Knowledge Round, where the guests will be asked rapid-fire questions to give the audience invaluable pieces of wisdom to help transform their lives. Starting in 3, 2, 1, showtime.
First question I have for you, David, is what was holding you back from becoming the man you are now today?
The belief that I was not enough. Because back then I always thought, well, like I have to do all these things in order to become that person I am today. But really the only thing that's separating you from who you want to be or who you truly are is a glass wall. It's this little thin wall that you created where you think that you can't be that other person. That's really it.
All right, very good. And what would you say are three of your most influential books and why?
David Data's The Way of the Superior Man, because it showed me how to live with an open heart and to live lovingly, and that's a good trait, to live lovingly and not just some stuff a nice guy would do, quote unquote, as the pickup community conditioning dictates usually. Number two would be Anti-Fragile by Nassim Taleb, which is a sort of scientific book, but it really boils some fundamental life principles down to the core. So really that dichotomy between put lots of risk in some areas of your life and be really conservative in others. And I really recommend reading that. And the third one would be a German author, and this one is going to be a really complicated but really rewarding read for everyone who dares. It's called Tonio Kroos by Thomas Mann. It's a really famous German author, and he wrote great books. It's basically about the transformation of a young guy who is on his path, who is searching to discover himself. It's a fantastic book.
New interesting books. Usually we hear a lot of the same ones, but good stuff there. And what would you say now is like your philosophy on living?
Well, that's a big one.
Yeah, I know. I ask big questions.
Before you listen to anybody else, listen to yourself. That's basically it. Listen to yourself, and I mean truly listen to yourself. It's so easy to say, well, I'm listening to myself now. I'm not following social conditioning anymore. I'm not buying girls flowers anymore. But now I go out 7 nights per week and hit on 10 girls every night. And that could be, it could be a good phase for a while. But the thing is not to mistake one conditioning for the other, but really focus on listening to yourself. And the best way, I think, to do that, to achieve that, is to be in isolation for a while. Just as David Thoreau described in Waldo, just isolate yourself in a cave or in the forest for a day. Even a day is enough for you as a man to hear that inner voice again, to reconnect with that inner voice.
Yeah, very good, very good. At first you kind of were, that's a big question, but that was a really good answer. And I think a lot of people need to hear that, especially when, someone who listens to this podcast, when they're listening to not only just this podcast, but other podcasts, other people, other type of gurus or leaders. And in addition, every podcast is recommending books, and it can get overwhelming. And so for you to say, hey, just take a step back and just listen to yourself, that can be very relieving for a lot of guys in this industry, working on themselves and wanting to really push themselves. So I think that's really good, David.
Yeah.
So that's going to conclude the knowledge round, just real short. I'm interested in kind of the future of where do you see this going? Like, what do you see? This work that you're doing is really interesting, and a lot of guys need to hear it. Where do you see it going?
Now, I have to mention that something that is really important to me. When I'm speaking about all, I'm having quite a critical standpoint towards pickup and so forth, and self-help and all that. And basically what I'm doing is I'm playing a role. I'm trying to create an anti-pole to what is out there already. So everyone is saying, you have to self-improve, you have to become a better man. And I'm just trying to be like one of the very few people who says, well, no, just be yourself. But what I really want long-term is to create some sort of community that it's almost like a new way of looking at improving. And I mean, it's not really new. It has been there for many thousand years in religion, but really connecting with ourselves more as men, listening to our hearts more, and listening less to success ideology, to pick up ideology, or whatever you want to call it. So I'm really trying to create this intimate movement, if you think about it, where men try or dare to be vulnerable again and to really go with what moves them and not what external standards dictate. And that will be in form of videos, in form of further books. I just can't stop writing, so that will eventually happen again. Yeah. we'll see how that turn out.
All right. And for all the listeners, you can check out on Amazon Rite of Passage by David Eschenlohr, and that's Eschenlohr, David Eschenlohr. And also, you can Google his name. He's got a number of different articles online and a YouTube channel, so be sure to check that out. David, thank you so much for sharing your story, being vulnerable here with my community today.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you for listening to the Knowledge for Men podcast. Hundreds of interviews and 1 million downloads later, we're continuing to build an international movement, and we've just started. So if you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and leave a review in iTunes. It really helps to grow the podcast. Guys, 2015 is the official year of living with purpose, where every day you do only the things that matter to you. You wake up, live with purpose, and take massive action towards the life you want. Check out kfmfree.com to get free tools I've created to help you crush life. Again, that's kfmfree.com. This is your host, Andrew Fairby, and I'll see you in the next episode.